The information you consume is 98% false. The media floods us with fear, news of chaos and disease shaping our perception of reality, making us believe that we are victims. But what if I told you that the real virus is not what you see in the headlines, but fear itself? When I read Know the Only Truth, I began to question more and believe less in the news. I understood that human beings can control their own minds to heal themselves from any illness they suffer from. What you perceive outside is a reflection of your inner self. This book made me take a giant leap forward. I stopped being the victim and took on the role of creator of my own reality. Because the only thing that can make you sick is the belief that you can get sick, and the real cure has always been within you. Click on the link in my bio and read it right now.
My name, as I said, was Paul Hellyer. I'm a former Minister of National Defence for Canada. I served in 3 governments during a total of 23 and a half years as a Member of Parliament. UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead. That gave me the dubious distinction of being the first person of cabinet rank in the G8 group of countries to say so unequivocally. Document was prepared which concluded that at least 4 species had been visiting Earth for thousands of years. They are different species and consequently may have
about 3 dogs, an American dog and a Polish dog and a Russian dog. They were all having a visit, and the American dog was telling them about how things were in this country. He said, you know, you bark and you bark long enough, and then somebody comes along and gives you some meat. And the Polish dog said, what's meat? The Russian dog says, what's bark?
The collapse never arrives with sirens. It shows up slowly, quietly, in the spaces people stop noticing. The empty storefront on the corner. The grocery bill that climbs even when the cart gets lighter. The job that promises security while delivering exhaustion. People keep waiting for the moment things will feel normal again. But that moment is not coming back. Because the middle class is not slipping. It is being dissolved. For decades, the idea of a stable life sat at the center of everything. Work hard, buy a home, build a future. But in 2025, millions feel that promise turning into vapor. Not because they failed, not because they mismanaged their lives, because the system that supported them was quietly redesigned to pull the ladder up behind the elite. This is not an accident, it is architecture. Start with the cost of living. Inflation gets blamed like a natural disaster. Something unpredictable, something that just happens. But inflation did not appear from thin air. It was built through decades of financial engineering that siphoned value upward. When the rules were rewritten to favor asset holders over workers, prices did not rise organically. They rose because the people who owned everything decided they could. A house that once cost a few years of wages now costs several lifetimes. Rent consumes half a paycheck. Groceries feel like luxury items. People chase the same life with triple the effort and none of the reward. Debt fills the gap. Student loans, credit cards, car payments, everything becomes subscription finance. You no longer buy a life, you finance one. And the moment you stop paying, your life is reclaimed by someone above you. The debt system creates the perfect loop, a permanent state of almost making it, a population that keeps running because the consequences of stopping are too heavy to bear. While the cost of living rises, wages freeze, not officially. On paper, numbers move up, but compared to the price of survival, they are static. Productivity climbs, profits climb, executives climb, workers sink. Every year, one group builds a mountain of wealth from the same hours that push the other group into the ground. The middle class does not disappear through catastrophe. It appears through harvest. Then there is housing, the defining pillar of stability, the foundation of generational wealth. Today, that pillar is owned by investment firms that buy neighborhoods in bulk. They never intend to live there. They intend to capture the one resource every human needs: shelter. Once homes become financial products, the people who actually live in them become secondary. Families get pushed out. Communities fracture. Landlords become faceless entities that raise rent simply because they can. A house once symbolized freedom. Now it symbolizes ownership by someone you will never meet. Work itself changes. Not long ago, a job meant permanence. Today, it means flexibility for the employer and instability for the worker. Gig platforms turn labor into disposable fragments. Automation becomes the excuse for shrinking paychecks and expanding surveillance. People are monitored, measured, timed, and optimized. Every move tracked in the name of efficiency. But efficiency for who? Not the worker. Efficiency for the system that sees humans as moving parts. The great shift is already here. People work longer hours and still fall behind. Extra jobs, side hustles, constant hustle culture. All of it sold as empowerment while quietly normalizing burnout. A population too exhausted to question why the goalposts never stop moving. Then there is the psychological piece. When people sense the ground disappearing beneath them, the instinct is to look inward. What did I do wrong? Why can I not keep up? But the collapse of the middle class is not the result of personal failure. It is the outcome of decades of policy decisions designed to widen the gap between those who hold power and those who fuel it. The pandemic did not create the collapse. It accelerated a trend already in motion. Wealth was transferred upward at speeds never seen in modern history. Small businesses closed while mega corporations expanded. Entire industries consolidated. The richest individuals doubled their fortunes while households drained their savings to survive. People thought the emergency would end and the system would reset. But the system that returned was not the same one that existed before. It was leaner, more automated, more centralized, and far less dependent on a thriving middle class, which leads to the most important piece. A society without a middle class becomes easier to control. A polarized population split into wealthy elites and struggling masses loses its stabilizing force. When people live paycheck to paycheck, they have no time for resistance. When people lose ownership, they lose bargaining power. When communities fracture, unity becomes impossible. And when the future feels uncertain, people accept whatever structure promises predictability, even if it costs them freedom. The disappearance of the middle class is not just an economic shift. It is a social restructuring. It determines who gets to participate in the world and who only gets to endure it. Financial strain becomes a political tool. Scarcity becomes a method of guidance. And people who know something is wrong are told they were imagining it. The truth is hiding in plain sight. Every major trend of the last 2 decades points in one direction: consolidation of wealth, consolidation of land, consolidation of influence, consolidation of technology, consolidation of control. The middle class cannot survive in a structure designed for extraction. And right now, the structure is almost complete. But here is the part they never expect. People are starting to look past the noise, past the narratives, past the distractions, past the political theater. People are not blind to the pattern. They feel it. They live inside it. They watch it reshape their families, their neighborhoods, their futures. And once a pattern is recognized, it cannot be unseen. The question is not whether the middle class can be saved. The question is, who benefits from its disappearance? Follow that thread, and the entire blueprint reveals itself. You be the judge. If you are awake, you already know what to do. Hit the link in our description and sign up to our free underground newsletter.